The Sky This Month, with your host, Dave McDonald.
Welcome to The Sky This Month for the first part of April 2024. I'm your host, Dave McDonald. And you know what's happening behind me. We have the diamond ring effect for the eclipse for April 8th. And the first part of the show, we're just going to be sure that you have the information you need. So here to catch you up on the details you need to know about the April 8th eclipse on Monday is my students from the Belmont High School Astronomy Club. Watch this.
Yo, man, can you hear what's happening? No, what's happening?
Hey, Manly, can you hear what's happening? No, what?
Yo, Brendan, did you hear what's happening?
No. What? Colin, did you hear what's happening? No, what?
Hey Rick, you know what's happening?
No, what? Yo, Lucas, you hear what's happening?
No, what?
What's happening? A total solar eclipse is coming to New Hampshire. What?
What's a total solar eclipse?
Well, you see, it works like this. When the moon orbits Earth and comes directly between both the sun and Earth, it casts a small shadow on a narrow part of Earth, creating the solar eclipse.
Well, what would it look like?
Our advisor went to the 2017 total solar eclipse in Kentucky and took these pictures. Pretty cool, right?
Wow, you're kidding.
Yeah, and the stars and the planets came out.
And even the animals were confused.
You told us about how absolutely eerie and dark it was there.
Where can I go to see it?
To see totality, you have to be mid to northern Coos County in New Hampshire.
Where is that?
What's happening here in Coos County, New Hampshire? It's way up north. You want to be north of the towns of Lancaster, Kilkenny, and Milan. The farther north you go, the better. You definitely want to be in the path of totality. 99% coverage just isn't good enough.
When is it?
April 8th. It's a Monday. But if you don't already live up there, you'll have to get up there early, like Saturday or Sunday.
Why?
The traffic. Nothing will be moving. And you likely won't get back till Tuesday. It's a big deal that people are coming from all over to view the eclipse in New Hampshire and other parts of northern New England and Canada.
Maybe I'll just see the next one.
The next time one of these is going to happen is on May 1st of 2079, and that's 55 years away. High likelihood we're not going to be able to see that, but maybe your kids will.
Wow, can I just look up at the sun?
No. Never look at the sun without proper eye protection. Like these eclipse glasses I just got.
Will I be able to see the sun?
Yes, safely, and you might even see sunspots. During totality, you can take your glasses off, but as soon as that ends, put them right back on.
How long is that?
About 3 minutes, but it's so worth seeing. You'll be able to see the corona, which you can't see at any other time.
100% totality starts at 3:30 p.m., but you're going to want to start watching around 2, and it'll go until about 5 p.m. You guys are never going to forget this experience, ever.
High school and middle school students should consider making a science project out of it, if their teacher agrees.
It happens Monday, April 8th. Totality is in Coos County. Don't you miss it.
Well, I hope you enjoyed that piece with my astronomy club, and don't forget to get your glasses. You need them for the entire event unless you're in Coos County during totality, and for those 3 minutes you can take your glasses off. If you're not in Coos County, you need your glasses for the entire event. And stay tuned around Friday, April 12th. We hope to have a new show for you with the results of the eclipse and all that happened on Monday, April 8th. So we're going to talk a little bit about what you can see at the beginning of the month of April. So what we're looking at here is we're looking at the western sky about 7:30, 7:40 in the evening, about 40 minutes after sunset or so. This is your opportunity, April 1st or 2nd, maybe April 3rd, to find the planet Mercury, which, as we always say, is elusive, not easy to find, but it's available April 1, 2, and possibly 3. Next, I want to show you the lines just so you can see some other things while you're looking for Mercury. Right above Mercury, this is the constellation of Aries. I kind of think it looks like a hockey stick. This is the star Hamel, the alpha star in Aries. And then this one is easy to identify. It looks like a triangle, and that is, in fact, Triangulum, the triangle, easy enough to find. And then you'll also notice that even though we're like 7:30, 7:40 in the evening, that Jupiter is easy to find, and we're going to talk more about Jupiter and another site that you can see with the moon and Uranus in a little bit. So don't miss your opportunity. April 1, 2, 3, that's all you got is 3 days in April to try to find the elusive Mercury. So next, we're going to jump to the morning sky, and this is the morning sky of April 8th and 6th, and you can see the moon here is very crescenty, okay? It looks kind of full, but it's really a crescent moon. But I chose this morning because you have Saturn and Mars, and as time goes on, they're actually going to move in closer to each other. All this is in the constellation of Aquarius, right, the water bearer, and down here we have vestiges of Pisces. But anyway, we have the moon, and we have Saturn and Mars, and this is April 5th, April 6th, in the morning before the sun is up, about 40 minutes before sunrise. Then we're going to jump ahead to April 10th, and on April 10th, the moon is no longer in the picture, but notice how close Mars and Saturn are. They're about a full moon's width apart. This is called the conjunction of Mars and Saturn, and really, really a great sight. Mars is going to be showing about a 5-second of arc disk. Saturn, the planet itself, will be about a 16-second of arc, and then if you measure, which you should, the rings, you're at about a 32-second of arc as well, with about a 4-degree tilt or so of the rings. So don't miss that, and that's available to you the morning of April 10th and the morning of April 11th. Now, staying with the April 10th theme, let's look at the next thing that you can see April 10th at night. So you see the moon up here kind of looks in this image like it's on the full side, but it's really a very crescent moon. And this is, again, we're talking about 8 o'clock, April 10th in the evening, a nice crescent moon, Uranus and Jupiter, blazing Jupiter at around a magnitude -2. But you need binoculars to see Uranus, but it's going to be in the same binocular field as Jupiter, so you can look and get Jupiter towards the bottom of your binoculars, and you will be able to see the planet Uranus. A telescope will reveal it much more, but this is going to be a great night, particularly if you do have a telescope, because right between Jupiter and that nice crescent moon, just off to the upper left a little bit, is the planet Uranus. So a great opportunity for you to spy Uranus in the sky. So this is going to be a great photographic picture, and I'm sure that you will enjoy this first beginnings of April, the night sky. We'll talk about the endings of April, neat things, in the next show. Friday, April 12th will be the airing of our next show. So there you have it. And what I'd like to do now is introduce to you from our March show, Dr. Rick Fienberg, and I'll be reintroducing him to you. And I thought it would be great for these first few days of April to be sure you have your basic eclipse information under your belt. So welcome me as I welcome again Dr. Rick Fienberg. So Dr. Rick Fienberg earned his PhD in astronomy at Harvard University. He spent 22 years at Sky and Telescope, and 8 of those years as editor-in-chief. And he was 12 years press officer at the American Astronomical Society, for which he now serves as the volunteer project manager of the AAS Solar Eclipse Task Force, and as a volunteer, boy, he is busy. The International Astronomical Union named asteroid 9983 Rick Fienberg in his honor, and NASA awarded him its Exceptional Public Achievement Medal for his work in promoting eye safety for the 2017 United States solar eclipse. And Rick has been a guide on astronomy-themed expeditions for more than 3 decades and has visited both the North Pole and the South Pole. And it's a pleasure to once again introduce Rick Fienberg. Thank you so much for being on our show.
Thanks for having me back, Dave.
You are welcome. And so you can see behind us, I'm wearing my sweatshirt featuring the eclipse. And we want to get right into it at the top of the show here. So Rick, tell us, what are the essential things to know about this upcoming April 8th eclipse?
The single most important thing you need to know is that a total solar eclipse is the most spectacular celestial phenomenon that is available to us as humans. It's beyond belief. There's no way to adequately describe it because it's not like anything else that people experience. It is breathtakingly beautiful, and there's no photo or video that can do it justice. And you're actually getting to see new moon, which normally is invisible to us, right? So in addition to the corona, you've got hot pink solar prominences. They're jets of hot gas erupting off the limb of the sun. And they're just brilliant to look at. It's like a neon bulb. And you've got beautiful pastel sunrise, sunset colors all the way around the horizon. It's just breathtakingly beautiful. These close-ups show kind of what you see if you're looking with binoculars, which are a really useful tool to bring to a total solar eclipse. You can see some of the features I was describing there. What's really cool about a total solar eclipse is that the sun, the moon, and you are in a perfectly straight line, you know? And you're standing in the moon's dark inner shadow. It's called the umbra. And people who get hooked on this experience and travel all over the world to see total solar eclipses are often called umbrophiles.
Really?
Yeah, it's another term for an eclipse chaser. In order to see a total solar eclipse, you have to be within the path of totality. Now, this is the path that the moon's shadow sweeps out across Earth's surface as it moves in its orbit.
And about how wide is that path?
On April 8th, it'll be about 115 miles wide, so it's pretty narrow. But it tracks thousands of miles across Earth's surface. And in this case, it enters North America at Mexico, crosses Mexico, enters the US at Texas, and then it heads up to the northeast, touches the very northern tip of New Hampshire, where we are, and then into Maine and off into eastern Canada. So it's thousands of miles long, but it's only 115 miles wide. But the thing is, if you hear in the media that a total solar eclipse is coming to the United States, and it's going to touch 13 states, and they mention your state, you might think, oh boy, we're going to have a total solar eclipse. But only if you're within that path. And if you are not within that path, you're only going to have a partial solar eclipse. Michael Zeiler of Great American Eclipse created this map to indicate that outside the path, it's like close but no cigar, right? You have to be in the path to get the total eclipse. So when the moon casts its shadow, it's casting the dark inner shadow within which the entire sun is blocked. And then on either side of it is the penumbra, which is the part of the shadow where the sun is partially blocked. And that's the region, it's much wider than the region of the total eclipse, where you see only a partial. And this is called the penumbra. Now, if you look at the next slide, this emphasizes something that drives me crazy in the media. I keep seeing the phrase, well, like what you just said, in Concord, we'll have a 96-ish% total eclipse. No.
Right.
There's no such thing as a 96-ish% total eclipse. It's a 96-ish% partial eclipse. And here you see what a 50% eclipse looks like on the left, and what a 99% eclipse looks like on the right. And I should mention, too, that these photographs were taken through solar filters, so the sky is black. This is what you see if you're looking through eclipse glasses or something. They let the sunlight through, but they don't let the skylight through.
Right.
Okay? But there is no such thing as any percent total eclipse except 100. Even when the moon is 99% eclipsed, as it will be very close to the path, a little bit north of Concord, but not far enough north to be in the path of totality, it only is about as dark as an overcast day. It's still daylight. It's darker than a sunny day, but it's still daylight,
Right.
even at 99%. So eclipse chasers like to say that climate is what we expect, but weather is what we get on eclipse day. And this is important because, as you see from this map, some parts of the US are much more likely to have clear skies in early April than other parts. The Southwest, where you see the yellow-orange, that represents mostly clear skies, typically on an early April day. The Northeast, on the other hand, not so great. Mostly cloudy skies in early April. But that's what you expect based on, the year-to-year
Averages.
statistics. Yeah, the averages. But this past year, we had a beautiful clear day on April 8th in New Hampshire. And in Texas, it was cloudy.
Interesting.
So, climate is what you expect, weather's what you get. And part of the reason I like to emphasize that is that I don't want people to think, well, if I can't go to Texas, what's the point? It's more exciting to experience a total eclipse under cloudy skies than it is to see a partial eclipse under clear skies.
Interesting.
So if you can be in the path, even if the weather doesn't cooperate, it's going to get dark in the middle of the day, it's going to get cold, or up in New Hampshire, colder. And you will never forget the experience. Hopefully it'll be clear, but even if it isn't, better to be in the path than to be out of the path. So next slide is meant to emphasize that it isn't the case that you either have a total eclipse or you have a partial eclipse, because every total eclipse is preceded by partial phases, and then after totality there's more partial phases. It's just that if you're only going to get a partial eclipse, there is no totality. So it takes a little over an hour for the moon to cover the sun completely, and then you get this rush of things happening over just a matter of seconds as the moon finally covers the sun. Then you get several minutes of totality. For this eclipse in April, if you're in southwest Texas, you'll get about 4.5 minutes of totality. Same in Mexico. As the eclipse moves up into the northeast, the duration of totality decreases a bit. In northern New Hampshire, in Maine, it'll be about 3.25 minutes. So the whole thing takes 2.5 to 3 hours, but it's the 3 to 4 minutes in the middle where things are really exciting. And if you are not in the path, next slide, you miss that middle row. You don't see totality, you don't see the amazing rapid changes that occur right before and after it. You just get a partial eclipse.
And I'd like to maybe just put in a little bit of a note that if at all possible, as we've been talking, to get up to Coos County above Lancaster, Milan, Kilkenny, and Berlin is where you want to go. But if you just can't, and I mean if you just can't, the McAuliffe Shepherd Discovery Center in Concord on April 8th will be having programming with eclipse glasses and solar telescopes and other activities. So it's a good place to go if you can't get up to Coos County. But by all means, if you can make those plans, make them and go. You won't regret it.
Do you know if they'll be showing any live streams from elsewhere on the path?
I would guess that we will, because
Yeah.
there'll be, NASA
there will be several.
involved. There'll be
NASA,
several,
that's right. The San Francisco Exploratorium, timeanddate.com.
Sure,
Yeah.
yeah. There'll be options.
Yeah, but as I said at the outset, I mean, a live stream may be the next best thing, but it doesn't look anything like what you see with your eyes.
And it's 55 years for the next one.
Yeah.
So don't just say,
In
well,
New
I'll
Hampshire.
catch
You mean in New Hampshire.
Yes.
Right.
However, 21 years for the next one in the United States.
Well, there will be one, in 2033 there will be an eclipse that touches Alaska.
Okay, that's part of the United
That's pretty
States.
far away. In the contiguous lower 48, there will be an eclipse in 2044, but it only touches Montana and the Dakotas.
Yeah.
So the next really good one that crosses the whole country is in 2045.
Right.
Yeah. So it's like a once in a generation thing.
Don't miss this
Don't
one.
miss this one if you can help it. So there has been a misunderstanding that, and I saw this in 2017, that the closer you get to the path, the longer totality lasts. That's not quite right. There is no totality unless you're in the path. Okay?
Right.
What's true is that the closer you are to the center of the path, the longer totality will last. But you don't have to be in the center of the path. And the center of the path in New England, it goes through Canada. It doesn't cross New Hampshire. New Hampshire is, the Coos County is south of the center line. But it doesn't really matter, because as this graph shows, you can be halfway from the center to the edge, and you still are getting, like more than 85% of the duration of totality. All right, so we'll go faster through the rest of these. The next slide shows how incredibly fast the bottom drops out of the sunlight right before totality. It takes an hour to get as dark as an overcast day, and then in the last minute, it gets hundreds of times darker. It's really dramatic. And the same thing, of course, happens again at the very end of totality. It's like the sun rose and jumped up into the sky in a minute. It's just incredibly dramatic. So let's talk real quickly about safety. The next slide shows the full moon. Why do I show the full moon? Because the totally eclipsed sun is only about as bright as the full moon, which means it's perfectly safe to look at. So if you advance the slide, it's perfectly safe to look at the totally eclipsed sun without any eye protection. But at any other time, during the partial phases before and after totality, or if you're not in the path throughout the partial eclipse, you have to look through safe solar viewers. And if you go to the next slide, I think I show some pictures of some, I actually brought some samples. These cardboard solar viewers are very popular. They're very inexpensive. If you wear glasses like I do, you just put them on over your glasses. I can't see anything. Well, I can kind of see these really bright spotlights very, very dimly. The only things that get through here is the bright sun. And so you don't use these at totality. You'll miss it if you keep them on. But if you use these eclipse glasses during the partial phases, you'll be protected.
Can't see a thing.
No.
Can't see a thing.
They make them in plastic. They look like sunglasses, but they're 1,000 times darker than ordinary sunglasses. They also make them in the form of these little handheld viewers. Same kind of filter material. This is nice. You keep it in your pocket.
That is convenient.
All right. Sometimes you can get them on a lanyard, and you just keep it around your neck. You watch the partial phases, and then as soon as totality hits, you just let go and watch. Very nice. Now, it's very important that you not be looking into unfiltered optics, telescope, binoculars, camera lenses, through these. The concentrated sunlight will melt this filter instantly.
Right.
Now, if you're going to look or take pictures through a telescope or binoculars or a camera, you have to use a special purpose solar filter over the front.
Right. And that's important to have it over the front.
It's got to be over the front.
As you see that image, the wrong, unsafe on the left.
Yeah.
Binocular. She's got her solar eclipse glasses on, but they're at the back end of the binocular.
they're at the wrong end.
Not a good idea.
On the right side, no solar eclipse glasses, solar filters over the front. Very important. Now, what if you can't find eclipse glasses or you forgot to bring them? There's other safe ways to look at a solar eclipse. The next slide shows a pinhole projection. Very simple. You just take a card, punch a hole in it. What makes it safe is you've got the sun at your back, and a little hole in the card projects an image of the sun, and you'll see the crescent sun during the partial phases. If you don't want to do it that way, anything with a lot of little holes in it will work. You got a spaghetti colander there, you got a slotted spoon. They will project pinhole images of the crescent sun during the partial phases, which is really cool.
I heard that even Ritz crackers may work.
People bring Ritz crackers. That's right, all kinds of fun things. Next slide shows you don't even need equipment. You can just make little pinholes with your fingers.
Yeah.
Little animation on the left shows me doing that. There's the crescent suns on the ground.
Nice.
Even just standing near a leafy tree.
Yep.
Now the trees won't have leafed out yet
No, they
in
won't.
April.
Not up in Coos County.
So that might not work so well for us up here in the Northeast, but you get the picture. So one thing to keep in mind is that if you are using pinhole projection and you've got the sun at your back, as soon as the image goes away because it got dark, you turn around and look up, okay? You can't use pinhole projection for totality. There's not enough light to get through the pinhole.
Right.
And anyway, you don't need to. You can look at it directly. The other thing is, next slide, and we're almost done, is that you'll often hear that solar eclipses are rare. And that's not true. There's a solar eclipse somewhere on the planet at least twice a year.
Right.
And there's a total solar eclipse somewhere on the planet, typically once a year or once every other year. The problem is that somewhere on the planet is usually on the other side of the planet.
Right.
So you're going to have to take an international trip or something, and it's expensive and time-consuming. What's rare is for a total solar eclipse to come to you. If you were to just park yourself somewhere, even in Coos County, and wait for a solar eclipse, a total solar eclipse, on average, you're going to have to wait 300 or 400 years. Coos County's getting one now, but it won't get another one, I'm not sure for how long. I know New Hampshire itself doesn't get another one for like 55 years, right?
Correct, yeah.
So it's not a total solar eclipses aren't a once-in-a-lifetime thing unless you're waiting for it to come to you.
Right.
And coming to you is anywhere close enough to get to easily,
Yes.
right? It doesn't have to go over your house. But for 31 million people on April 8th, it does go over their house. And my final really essential point concerns traffic. Final slide. If you're going to get into the path of totality, get there early, stay put, and stay late. Stick around. Because what happened in 2017 is as soon as totality ended, most of the millions of people who went to see it jumped in their cars and hit the road. And the traffic jams were historic.
Yes.
It took an hour to get to the eclipse and 12 hours to get back in Oregon. It was horrific. So if you keep all of that in mind, you're pretty well prepared for the eclipse. You want more information? Next slide. The website that's maintained by the Solar Eclipse Task Force at the American Astronomical Society is a really good starting place because it's got all the safety information you need, and it links out to eclipse maps and educational resources and images and all kinds of things. So that's where you should go, eclipse.aas.org.
Nice. Great information, and as we've said, if you haven't gotten the idea yet, don't miss it. If at all possible, get up there and enjoy totality. It's worth the trouble of
worth the trouble.
inconvenience. You know, camp out in the snow, bring your tent, a sleeping bag, whatever. It will be so worth it.
If you get into the path of totality on April 8th, no matter the weather, no matter how much trouble it is to do it, you will not regret it. You will definitely feel it was worth it.
Absolutely. Well, Rick, thanks so much for being part of our show again and for the great information that you shared about the
You're welcome.
eclipse and the importance of it, and again, the encouragement to people to go and experience it, because it's an experience.
And you're going to be in Coos County?
That's my plan. Got my reservations, made them about a year ago.
All right. Well, I wish for you clear skies, and I wish
that's-
for me clear skies. I'm actually going to Mexico.
Good for you.
But you know, I hope that my reward for going that far is clear skies. It should be. We're hoping.
Should be.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, and we'll take a look at some things that you can see in the night sky from your backyard this month. Well, I hope you got some good information again, or for the first time, from Dr. Rick Fienberg. Wealth of information there about the eclipse coming up Monday, April 8th. Don't miss this opportunity up in Coos County. If at all possible, you can get there. Plan to go early, as we've said, Saturday or Sunday ahead, and plan to stay, not to be able to get home again maybe until Tuesday, and enjoy the eclipse. So I've got this sweatshirt I bought up in Pittsburgh a couple weekends ago, and you can see the Moose has got his and eclipse glasses on, and so when I was in the general store, there was a line of Moose in line trying to get their eclipse glasses. So hope you enjoyed the show, and don't forget to tune back in the middle of April, about around April 12th on Friday, and let's see what happened during the eclipse. I'm Dave McDonald for The Sky This Month.